What's up, guys? DJ Gary, and we back with some news that happened over Thanksgiving weekend, and kind of new. Uh, let's jump into it. So, for those who wasn't aware, Chubby Tavares dies at age 80. If anybody remember, the song "Check It Out," only takes a minute. Um, their cover of Hall & Oates, "She's Gone," Who Done It, and remember what I told you not to forget, Too Late, and songs like that, legendary songs. So uh, the lead singer of uh, the Tavares. So let's get right into this article. Shout out to Soul Tracks. Every soul music death hurts. This one has a special sting to us at Soul Tracks. The Tavares family posted on social media the news today of passing of Antone Chubby Tavares, lead singer of the vocal group Tavares. It is with sadness that we share the news of our dad, Antone Chubby Tavares, passing. He passed away last night at home in peace and comfort. Within the past year, his health has declined, but his spirit attitude always remained positive. Dad and his brothers touched many people who brought joy worldwide. They were blessed to experience many places and things. The celebration of life to honor him will be held at a later date. The family appreciates your prayers during this difficult time. Tavares was the first act we ever profiled on Soul Tracks, in large part because of my personal affection for the group. I first interviewed Chubby when I was 18 years old. Freshman writing for a college newspaper, had a chance to speak with him several times over the years. I was both kind and humble about his accomplishment. Those accomplishments are many. The five brothers from New Bedford, Massachusetts, Ralph, Tiny, Chubby, Butch, and Pooch created some consistently high quality soul dance music, 70s, 80s. Originally called Chubby and the Turnpikes, the Tavares brothers spent the late 60s, early 70s in their native New England, uh, covering tunes of R&B greats, various clubs, while trying to land a record deal. They finally scored a contract with Capitol Records, then New Black Music Division, released the single "Check It Out" in 1973. It soared to the top 10 on the R&B charts, became the group's first top 40 pop hit. What came after that was a string of hits that led Blues and Soul magazine in 1976 to label Tavares the next supergroup. It only takes a minute. Heaven must be missing an angel. She's gone. Never had a love like this before. And many more memorable cuts established Tavares brothers as 1970s R&B music. Royalty even allowed them to survive Mixed Blessing, having their version More Than a Woman as part of the Grammy Award winning soundtrack. Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, that participation gave the group decent exposure ever, brought brought with it a label that Tavares would spend years trying to shake, that of disco group in that decade, highlighting so many groups from the last Detroit days of Motown to the rival hot sounds of Philadelphia and Los Angeles. The Tavares brothers proved themselves to be among the most versatile, talented, and time has been kind of invaluable legacy. After the group's last major release in 1983, Words and Music brother Ralph Tavares retired. Tavares became principally a touring group, often performing in a multi-artist show with other 70s R&B dance acts. Chubby also made a stir in solo artists with series of albums last decade, working with legendary producer Preston Glass. He continued to perform with his brothers until early 2023 when Chubby announced his retirement to focus on his health and his family. The death of Chubby Tavares is a sad coda for our relationship with one of Soul Track's favorite singers, even as we marvel at more than 5 decades of incredible music memories he created. Rest in peace, Chubby. Yes, the Tavares was an incredible group. They really, to me, was one of those groups that was strong vocally, and they were like, they were brothers. They were all blood related. So to me, like they really solidified what it was to be a sibling group. After Five Stair Steps, Isleys, Jackson 5, Silvers, Tavares was right there. And the Tavares and the Jacksons actually used to hang out together. They used to go to Havenhurst and, play basketball with the Jacksons. I do remember as a little kid, Check It Out was like on a compilation disc. It was like my dad's friend burnt a CD, download the music to it. Check It Out was like one of the first songs on there. And then I remember my dad playing the greatest hits of Tavares. But they got some really strong material. And I also do remember being like 7 years old or maybe 6 watching America's Most Wanted. And I believe it was Chubby's son got unalived. And I remember when the Tavares appeared on America's Most Wanted and they were trying to find the suspect. I do remember that. I seen an article from 2007 that they did find the suspect. So that's good to know. I always wondered about it. Do you guys have a favorite Tavares song or moment? Let me know, and put it in the comment section. Rest in peace to Chubby and the other 2 members who passed away previously. Let's get to the next story. Okay, so Bill Upchurch, guitarist and composer for Michael Jackson and Curtis Mayfield, dies at 84. Man, we just losing legends right now. He was a heck of a guitarist. I'll say that. Bill Upchurch, a guitarist who played with Quincy Jones, Donny Hathaway, and Michael Jackson, died on November 23rd in Los Angeles. He was 84. During his career, Upchurch recorded nearly 30 albums, appeared on more than 1,000 recordings with some of the biggest artists in Hollywood. Among the hit singles he took part in creating were Chaka Khan's "I'm Every Woman," which climbed Billboard R&B charts for 3 weeks in 1978, and Michael Jackson in Jackson's "Working Day and Night" from his 1979 solo album "Off the Wall." The guitarist Was also featured on all of Hathaway's solo studio and live albums, Curtis Mayfield soundtracks, Superfly, Claudine, Let's Do It Again, Sparkle, and composed George Benson's single 6 to 4. Upchurch grew up in Chicago with a father who was a jazz pianist. His first introduction to music began at 13 years old, when his father gave him a ukulele. That gift prompted him to explore other instruments. He mastered playing the guitar, bass, and drums. Influenced by jazz musician Oscar uh, Peterson and Jimmy Smith, Upchurch's entry into the music industry started with his first tour performing with the singing group The Spaniels. After graduating from high school in 1958, Upchurch served 2 years in the U.S. Army, and in the mid-60s as a radio reporter stationed in Germany, performing as a musician in Eunice Glee Club. After returning home, he took his talents to Chicago record labels, where he worked on sessions with jazz and blues artists such as Ramsey Lewis, John Clember, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, The Dales, Etta James, and eventually recorded his first single, You Can't Sit Down, Part 1 and 2. In addition to being a musician, Upchurch published 2 books, and he was working on autobiography at the time of his death. He is survived by his wife, Sonia. Man, rest in peace to Upchurch. I remember actually reading credits, and he definitely was in the credits of a lot of stuff. And I do remember seeing he was a bassist as well, because I think he has a brother. I think Bill Upchurch, isn't Bill Upchurch's brother as well? And I do remember getting a little confused because I was like, wait a minute, does he play bass? I know he plays guitar, and that must be his brother or something, but he played it all. So shout out to Phil Upchurch, and rest in peace to him. Hope his wife takes it easy with the grievances. Same to Tavares' family and stuff. I hope everybody I wish everybody blessings and prayers to them. It's a hard time. It's the holidays too. People losing their loved ones. Nobody's expecting this, but Okay, let's go to the next. Steve Cropper, Booker T and the MGs, and Stax Records guitarist, dead at 84. Man, this is another heavy one. Man, death comes in threes, they say, right? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame musician, played on co-wrote classics like Green Onions and Midnight Hours, Sit on the Dock of the Bay. Steve Cropper, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's guitarist, who helped from Memphis Soul sound on Stax Records, recordings by Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Booker T, MGs, died today. He was 84. The Cropper family announced this with profound sadness the passing of Stephen Lee Cropper, who died peacefully in Nashville today at the age of 84. His family said statement that cause of death is not immediately available. Steve was a beloved musician and songwriter, producer whose extraordinary talent touched millions' lives around the world. While we mourn the loss of a husband, father, friend, we find comfort knowing Steve lived forever through the music they added. Every note he played, every song he wrote, every artist he inspired ensures that his spirit and artistry will continue to move people for generations to come. Steve Cropper offerings to American music are significant, but his contributions to soul and R&B are immeasurable. Pat Mitchell Worley, president of CEO Soulsville Foundation, that operates the Stax Museum of American Soul Music in Memphis, added in a statement, his songwriting and guitar work shaped the very language of soul artists. A gifted songwriter, producer, musician, Cropper helped to create timeless hits that continue to influence artists and people worldwide. His signature style helped to define an era, cemented his legacy as one of the most important guitarists in modern music history. As founding guitarist of Stax House Band during the Memphis label's hit making prime, Cropper played on classics like Soul Man, Booker T, MG's Green Onions, Wilson Pickett's In the Midnight Hour, Red and Sitting on Dock of the Bay. With Cropper also serving as co-writer on the last three hits. Today, world trailblazing musician Mick Fleetwood wrote Instagram guitarist, songwriter, producer, most of all, incredible human being. I was blessed to have known, shared stage with many times. The world of music has lost a shining gem. The man of many licks, added James Alexander, founding member of the Bar-Keys. Rest in power. Cropper has been a secret ingredient in some of the greatest rock soul songs. Rolling Stone wrote when placing Cropper at number 45 on 250 greatest guitarists of all time. His spare soulful playing has appeared on records by a dozen of rock and R&B artists, including a stint in the Blues Brothers band. Think of the introduction to Sam Dave's Soul Man, the explosive bent notes, and Booker T's Green Onions, or the filigree guitar fills and Reddin's Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. They all bear Cropper's signature sound and quintessence of soul guitar. I don't care about being center stage, Cropper once said. I'm a band member, always been a band member. For Dock of the Bay ranked at number 26 on Rolling Stone list of 500 greatest songs of all time. Cropper contributed the tracks guitar chords and a rhythm to Ren's lyrics about his experience in Sausalito houseboat. Me being a purist kind of guy, I said, Otis, did you ever think if a ship rolls in going to take on water and sink? Cropper recalled Rolling Stone 2017, he said about the lyric, hell, Crop, that's what I want. And Otis always got his way. However, Platinum's selling number one song wasn't released until January 1968, a month after Reddin's death. In a small plane crash, Cropper finished work on the song immediate aftermath of Reddin's death. I didn't know we were the same age until I read the obituary. Cropper told Rolling Stone 2024, I always thought Otis was older. I looked it up to him as an older brother, why he was so wise. One of the hardest things I ever had to do was mix that song. Cropper told Rolling Stone, I stayed up 24 hours mixing this song. The next morning, I went out to the airport, went out on the tarmac, and stewardess came down. Stewardess came down to the bottom of the steps, and I handed her the master. The Missouri-born Cropper moved to Memphis as a child, with the Tennessee city exposing him to gospel music. As a teenage guitarist, Cropper co-founded the band The Marquis, with the group recording classic instrumental "Last Night" for the local Stax label in 1961. One of the first tracks released by the label after its changed name from Satellite Records to Stax. The Marquis soon became an in-house band for Stax. In addition, backing the artists that recorded at Stax Studio, members of the Marquis themselves were rebranded as Booker T and MGs, fronted by Marquis keyboardist Booker T. Jones for their own release. Following his legendary decade-long stint at Stax, Cropper moved to Los Angeles, becoming a go-to session musician, playing on tracks by artists like John Lennon, 1975, Rock and Roll, Ringo Starr, Leon Russell, Rod Stewart, notably Blues Brothers, with Cropper also appearing in a 1980 comedy about Saturday Night Live sketch, revisited his work on Saturday Soul Man Duck, done MG's bassist. I got a lot of flack for the Blues Brothers, Cropper told Rolling Stone 2024. They said, what are you guys doing? Playing with a couple of crazy comedians? I said, get out of here. You gotta be nuts off the bat. You don't know that John, before Second City, was front of a band playing drums and singing, and Daniels really is playing harmonica. Throughout the 70s, Cropper produced albums by the Jeff Beck Group, John Prine, Poco, and John Mellencamp, including his early hits, Ain't Even Done with the Night in This Time. Cropper and the MGs also backed Neil Young on his 2002 album, Are You Passionate?, and toured briefly with Young. Cropper was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 1992 as a member of Booker T. MGs, a two-time Grammy Award winner. Cropper also received the Grammy's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2007. Steve Cropper was a true member of a creative musical family that changed the world of music. There were many contributors, but six who were the cornerstone what made Stax consistent unique: Al Jackson Jr., Doug Dunn, Booker T. Jones, Isaac Hayes, David Porter. Porter, Stax's first songwriter, who worked with Cropper extensively, tells Rolling Stone, the musical unity meant that each person knew their role and lived up to it 24/7. Steve Rhodes was a cement in musical pocket, with his own special flavor coming from him. Every song, every artist, every day, he took pride in finding musical personality that turned that into his own identity. That was his soul. He played his magic in the six members, creating Soulsville, USA, the Memphis sound. He will forever live on. Yeah, rest in peace to Steve Cropper. Booker T. Jones is now the last member of uh, Booker T and the MGs. I think a couple of horn players is left. I think Wayne Jackson is still alive. But as far as like the quartet, Booker T. Jones is just one of the last ones left. You know, Stax music, you know, was a part of my dad's collection. So, you know, I was able to really listen to that music and hone it in. I remember first time hearing Green Onions and just remembering how old it sounded. I was like, wow. But you know, that was definitely a true hit, a poster mark for Stax Records. You know, Steve Cropper on those Sam and Dave recordings and all that. Like, it was like the day before or last week, me and my dad was just talking about Steve Cropper, his guitar licks, and, you know, what he meant to Stax sound early. And, you know, you hear Sam Moore, you know, play it, Steve, you know. And, you know, Steve Cropper was one of the ones who held it down after Otis passed away. They put him in charge. You know, once they changed it to stuff around, they had to rebrand, and they came out with like 18 albums for like, I think like 3 years straight or so. You know, they rebranded. Go watch that documentary that I did a review on, the Stax documentary that came on HBO. They did their thing on that. But you know, Steve Cropper was really, he was like the go-to guy to get the sessions together. You know, he was one of the first ones to actually find the Barcades. You know, they were just kids, I think in a bar or something, just playing, and then he seen them and, you know, auditioned them. And yeah, I do remember, you know, Steve Cropper, Dal Duck Dunn being in Blues Brothers 2000. You know, I do remember seeing that movie, and that's where I first seen them in. You know, but the records was a reoccurring thing, listening to them being played throughout. So, yeah, rest in peace to these legends. Wow. It's a lot of news coverage for today. I wasn't expecting this. You know, I hope everybody's family find peace and all that type of stuff. Yeah. Like this video, comment, and share. Let me know your thoughts on all these individuals that I covered. Let me know if you have any memories of the music or so. DJ Gary, I'm out.